Good evening. My name is Chief Fast Horse with the Tutantawa Ochate Chakawayan Lakota Nation. We're under the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty in the Midwest. Primarily our location is South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Colorado, and parts of Montana. This evening, what we're wanting to convey to you, to the tribes here in North America, I'm not so certain about how the domestic policy of the United States corporation affects other countries, but we're under somewhat of an imminent threat again. And what I want to do, like I've done for my Lakota people, there's 500,000 of us that make up the Assiniboine, the Arikara, the different, the Oglala, and the Sinchangu, the Minikanju, the Hunkpapa, the Brule, the Uhunktuwa, and some of our other bands, along with the Arapaho and the Crow, the Grovant, the Mandan, the Hidatsa, the Arikara, and also for the East River Dakota people. We're really glad that a lot of them that are in exile in Canada and in South Dakota will be going home under the 1851 Fort Snelling Treaty. We want to thank Dennis Paggi and his relatives and his great-grandfather, Wojapi, who signed that instrument over there. So they'll be able to return back to Minnesota because of that unnecessary 1872 uprising in Minnesota that should have never taken effect. But what I'm talking to you about today, this evening, wherever you might be, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, from the Apache to the Zuni tribes, and also those in Alaska with the Tlingit, the Athabaskan, the Dene-speaking, the Yupiaq, the Eskimo, and the Hawaiian Kingdom, and also our territories in Puerto Rico and Guam, that the United States, since we're under termination policy, and it's still inherent within the treaties that we have the land and the water resources, there's powers that we're not exactly sure who they might be, but since we're under the termination policy of President Jackson of 1832, which caused the Trail of Tears, and the Papist Bull of 1493 with Charles VI, we want to make sure that our numbers are safe. So I want to encourage these tribes in the United States to make sure that they increase the tribal police and make sure that they don't have these peoples of our tribes be subjugated or succumb to the relocation of our peoples into any of these 4,000 FEMA prison camps where they're going to exterminate us. We're deemed terrorists through Barack Hussein Obama II, even though his mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, was Potawatomi and Jewish from the house of Israel. We're not exactly sure where his heart lies. He's made many promises. They've all made many promises, more than we can remember. They kept one promise, to break the treaties and steal our land. And this is what they're continuing to do. So between our resources and the money we've made through the years since Chief Tommy and I started Indian Bingo, and then it revolved, or it folded into the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of Ronald Reagan in 1988. We're trying to make sure that our people are safe, and it's better to be safe than sorry. I've spent over 30 some years in prison, and I know the adverse effects of that revolving door and that recidivism. I fought the United States in a lawsuit contending that there was no plenary authority, and I had won. And I wanted to remind you that the United States is not what you think it is. They're part of the England Corporation, and you can check with the Delaware Corporation in Wilmington, Delaware, and see that the Internal Revenue Service and Social Security and some of these for-profit Delaware corporations are part of the United States government, which you think were previously regulatory agencies. They're corporations. And adversely, what happened when you were born, your birth certificate was monetized into a CUSIP bond that the Queen of England, who is the chairman of the Committee of 300, uses this CUSIP bond to leverage the so-called debt with China and Germany. We know that because we've spoken to both the Deutsche Bank in Germany and the old one in China, who is the one of one, the old one over the 100 elders. They're the people that have Solomon's gold and the off-ledger accounts. We also know what's available in information from the collateral accounts and the International Black Book that Neil Keenan shared with us. So all of these things you're hearing about are not things to be too totally concerned. There might even be something very promising in what they call the 7-year forgiveness, what they call the second Jubilee in Philadelphia, where the United States goes back to being a constitution and a government, files bankruptcy protection, and all that is theirs, was theirs, never really was theirs. Under the supreme law of the land, all of Mother Earth has belonged to the indigenous peoples. We just never really accepted her like some sort of surplus property. But we need to. We're the stewards of the land. The supreme law of the land was something that our ancestor crafted for us, so we need to take a hold of this, and we need to make Mother Earth healthy again. And this is also for all the indigenous peoples that signed the 2007 Human Rights Declaration. So this is a plea to all of you to become solvent and safe. It's better to be safe than sorry, and I would hate to see any of you end up in any of these 4,000 FEMA camps. And if you think these things don't exist, just check out the National Defense Security Act and see how your president, Chief Black Eagle, has deemed us as terrorists. And under Agenda 21 from the United Nations, from our Secretariat General, Ban Ki-moon, and also the existing termination policy of Andrew Jackson, which created the POW camps, and every one of your tribes has a POW camp number. The Oglala Sioux tribe, where I'm from, is 344. So it all goes back to the Vatican. And remember, the Vatican originally started in Spain. So under the Seditiary Papist Bull, we're still under that condemnation as well. It's all about land, and it's all about the precious commodity known as water. Water is a very precious item, and what they're doing to California is nothing less than a sin through ARP. These things are being taken care of. We have some allegiances that are former 4-star generals that are informing us of daily activities. We know everything that went on with 9/11. We've talked with Michael Moore, who created 9/11 Fahrenheit. We know everything about George Bush. We know that his grandfather, Pierce Bush, was never to be involved in politics, or any of his siblings, ever since he was caught dealing with Adolf Hitler. These are all things that you can understand all the way back to Leo Emile Wanta, who was given the authority to build the maglev train under Ronald Reagan's regime, and had taken all of his money from him and arrested him unlawfully. I know what it's like to be arrested. I've done over 30 years in prison, and I understand the recidivism and the revolving door there. A lot of our brothers and sisters will be coming out. We're going to pull their bonds, and we're going to help you in any way we can to administer the full effect of the redemption birth certificate process of getting your birth certificate and your affidavit sent to the Secretary of State so that John Kerry can recognize you as a person, since no one had ever really given him the consent to transpose your bond from the birth certificate to a bond. So we'll help you with that. It only takes a few dollars and a few weeks to make that happen. Once you become a sovereign citizen, get a hold of your proper and your true identity through your true treaty, like our 1851 Treaty of Fort Laramie is our controlling treaty. And then get a hold of your land bonds and deposit that into the Lakota Central Bank for safekeeping. And we're going to create commemorative coins for the chiefs and the people, and so that they'll have an unlimited control of money through the Magic Touch casino card that we're creating through our company in Florida, Embedex. So all of these things are going to happen. We'll be placing the denominations black onto the gold standard, and we're going to be working alongside some of the ancestors of our northern brothers, the Na-Dene Athabascan people back to China. They understood the atrocities and the genocide that we went through, and the best that they could do was just put the Washichu into the poor man's house. But the United States doesn't really have a debt. England does. So I don't know what the future of the United States is. Our Word of God tells us that we need to pray for our enemies. And so I'm hoping that good things will happen in September in Philadelphia when the Vatican rescinds all of their previous man-made papist bulls and go back underneath the Word of God. And then I hope that the United States goes back under being a constitution and there's no more separation of church and state. So if there's any of you that need help with this process, you can call me at 605, either 441-9778 or 605-209-9177, or you can email me at LakotaIndigenous@gmail.com. And if there's any of you that want to create an account, we still have the free Lakota Bank, which would be the Lakota Central Bank, and the City Bank campus that we're going to be converting into an Indigenous bank alongside our Indigenous embassy in Washington, D.C., which was formerly the Italian embassy. So we look forward to helping you if there's anything that you might need. This process now has been kind of a long ensuing thing that I've done for the last few years, and so I'm glad that it's coming down to just a couple of moves, and I'm just happy that I'm able to share that with you. And if there's anything else that you need, and if there's any sort of validation of what I'm talking about, you could talk to David Selden at the National Indian Law Library at the Native American Rights Fund at 303, area code 447-8760. And if there's anything that you need, please do not hesitate to call me. Aho. Midaku Oyasin.
Through the voices of many peoples, speak just one voice. World Indigenous Network.
You've heard a lot about how Columbus sailed to the Americas under the flag of Spain over 500 years ago. But how much do you know about the nations that were already here? And that's just a few of us. There's a lot more to learn. Native history is American history.
Through the voices of many peoples, speak just one voice. World Indigenous Network.